G'day guys, how are you? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I have yet another movie review for you all, so hopefully you find this one interesting. This is a horror film from Scotland, English language, released in the year 2012, directed by Ricky Wood, and this movie is called Sawney, Flesh of Man. This also goes under another title of Lord of Darkness, so if you can't find another one, please look for it under the other. So the story to Sawney is as follows. The legend of Sawney Bean and his murderous family is savagely brought to life in this chilling modern take on the Scottish cannibal hunting and abducting victims, along with the controversial police investigation to solve the spate of missing persons. In the bleak, rugged mountains, where caves hold the grisly remains of travellers who have met gruesome ends at the hands of the black cab driver Sawney Bean, whose victims are raped, dismembered, and slaughtered for the insatiable appetite of his grungy, inbred clan of cannibals, a crime journalist documents the incompetency of law enforcement in solving the case while an inspector, despite being hampered by the sensational news headlines, is determined to bring the killers to justice. Gruesome and compelling, Sawney Flesh of Man is not a film for the faint of heart. So the movie is based on a legend that took place in the 1600s, I believe, or sometime around that era. And so it's been modernised into a horror film. So this Sawney Bean is a cab driver. He drives this mysterious black cab. He picks up passengers and he basically takes them back to his mountain, and this is where his inbred cannibalistic family basically rape, dismember, and dispose of all these bodies. So the Sawney Bean legend, it comes across as them being the most prolific serial killers of all time. So this is what they're doing. They've got many, many victims, and it seems to be terrorising this place of Scotland that it's set. So along with this, you've got a news reporter who is building these sensational headlines about Sawney Bean and how he's killing at will. And they don't actually know it's Sawney Bean, but they just say, the headlines read that this a person is killing people at will, and it's making the police department look very, very incompetent. So this gets the inspector very, very angry, and he decides that instead of fighting with the journalist, he's going to try and befriend him. Well, not so much befriend him, but work with him, because this journalist has been known to get answers. So he hopes that the journalist will be able to get a lead, and hopefully that they can come together and bring the Sawney Bean and his clan down once and for all. So that's all I'm going to give you on the synopsis. If you want to know more, please go out there and see this film for yourself. Now, my thoughts on this movie. I had really, really high expectations coming into this one, based on the fact that Sawney Bean is a really horrific legend. It's a legend of Scotland, and it's set in the Highlands, and I thought if it was done properly, it was going to be really good. Now, I like the fact that this is modernised. It's not set in the old days. It's set in today's time, but it still has that Sawney Bean legend, and I thought that if this was done properly, it could have been a great horror film. Unfortunately, there's great promise, but it fails to deliver in a very disappointing way, which I'm going to explain very soon. So straight away, cinematography is excellent. It captures the very harsh environment of the Scottish Highlands. It's very reminiscent of other films that I keep going on about how they use the scenery as a horror sort of vibe. It shows you how small we are compared to nature, and I love that kind of thing. It happened in Wolf Creek. It happens in so many of these films where they capture the beauty of the landscape, the wilderness, but it also shows you how haunting it can be, because it's so easy to get lost. So if something really bad was going to happen, then chances are you'd never be noticed, and they wouldn't be able to find you. So I really liked that setting, and I thought the director captured it very well. As far as visuals are concerned, it's a very, very good film. I'm not sure how big the budget was, but it looked very good. So on a production level, it was very, very satisfying. It's a very extreme film. There's a lot of gore. There's not so much graphic violence, but it's a very disgusting type of film. So I would say it is extreme. There's some rape that is not really shown. It's more implied. So it's a very nasty sort of film, and that's exactly what you'd be thinking of a film based on the Sawney Bean legend. So if you've read up on Sawney Bean, you'll know full well what this is about, and you're going to be, salivating as far as horror fans are concerned, because it does promise a really good horror film. So there are things to like about it. Apart from the visuals, the acting was very good. David Heyman plays Sawney. I thought he was a great villain. He demanded attention whenever he was on screen. He was a complete madman. He was sadistic, and at the same time, he was pretty funny as well. So he had that sort of charm to him that would make him a really good, memorable villain. So it's not every day that you get a film with a really good villain. And I thought David Heyman, he's a fantastic actor, and he plays Sawney very, very well. I really like his cannibalistic family. They come across as kind of knowing a little bit of parkour, which I wasn't really a fan of, but they felt really, really intimidating. And when they were doing these horrific things, they come across as completely nuts. So you really feared them. So I really liked the casting of Sawney. I thought it was perfect. And I thought the black cab that he drove was really menacing as well. Soundtrack was not really, too excessive, so that plays a down part. I mean, it doesn't really require a good soundtrack, so yeah, that's nothing to really note of. And I thought, the acting from the supporting cast, it was a little bit of a letdown, but it's not so much a letdown to say that it was poor acting. It was just David Heyman, he stole the show. And ultimately, that is what brings the film down, for reasons that I'm about to go into. But David Heyman, he was just the light of the film. He was the main focus, and he's what drove the film to being good whenever he was on there. So the problem with the film also concerns David Heyman, and the fact that he steals so much attention on screen. You love every scene with him in it, but he's just not in it enough. They've got this stupid side story of this reporter following up on the crimes, trying to solve these crimes, that it takes the attention away from what the film has going best. It's a horror film, and the horror moments are really good, but there is just not enough of them. They focus on another story that is tedious. It goes absolutely nowhere. The reporter, the guy who acted, horrible performance. I hated this reporter, and I just thought, what the hell are we doing following this story when you've got such a better story happening, off screen? Sawney and his cannibalistic family were the best part of the film, but for some reason the director tried to intertwine this stupid story of this idiot who was chasing the story down. His girlfriend goes missing as well, and it's just stereotypical sort of rubbish that really hurts the film, because it comes as a distraction. And whenever you go back to David Heyman and his cannibalistic family, you're really loving it. But then it goes back to the story of the reporter, and it starts frustrating you. Then it goes back to the horror, and you're thinking, yes, stay here, please, please, please. But then it goes back. And so you start pulling out your hair, and you're thinking, come on, why am I not focusing on the best part of the film, which is Sawney? And that is, you've got the best actor in the film playing Sawney. You've got the best elements in the film concerning Sawney. So why not just play it around Sawney instead of having this stupid story that concerns characters that you do not care about? There is no character development. You don't really need them in the story. I would have loved it. It was just based inside these mountains and seeing Sawney do what he does best, and that is absolutely butchering everyone. I'm sorry, my nose is very itchy, but it really, really frustrated me, because this should have been a brilliant film, but it is a mediocre film because they've taken the best part of the story and they've just pushed it aside, and they've focused on this crap story that I thought was just really, really disappointing, because it was actually going for a 4-star or 4.5-star review, but because of this stupidity, because of this annoying sort of side story, it falls well short, and the ending was really lazy. I just thought, oh God, how do you take such a good idea and ruin it? So, this is not coming recommended. I mean, the horror set pieces, very, very good, but there's just not enough of them, and the side story, just really got me angry. So it should have been a hell of a lot better than it was. Unfortunately, elements to the film completely ruin it. So I'm only going to give it 1.5 stars. Really, really disappointing. It was a very bitter experience, and it was certainly a movie where I thought at the end, you had it, but you completely lost it. So it's my review for Sawney. Definitely not recommended. I'm very, very angry. So that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.